Hello and welcome to Reroll. My name is Angus Morrison and today I have something of a novelty for you because this is the first review I've done on DLC. And my regular viewers will know that my videos tend to be split between reviews of major releases and wider gaming commentary, but this is my first proper look at what follows in the life cycle of the modern game. Please do share, like, and you know what, I'm sick of saying that. You know how YouTube works. Let's begin. Dishonored, developed by Arcane, published by Bethesda and released October 2012, which is long before this channel was started, so sadly you won't find a video review from me. There is however a written one linked in the description below if you'd like my full thoughts on the matter. Suffice it to say that I happily threw my voice in with the chorus of press accolades that it received. Dishonored was a great game. Aesthetically it was a triumph because at the time we were drowning in a flood of gritty games with moody washout filters attempting to show you that they meant business, when along comes the newcomer drawn in bright pastel colours and steals the show. That the game is rendered austere by virtue of its architecture and inhabitants rather than its palette is something to applaud. And barring some finicky detection of ledges and a love-hate relationship with gravity, it was mechanically very solid. Creating a feeling of presence while in first person is no mean feat, but Arcane rose to the challenge. The inclusion of a blink ability was a particularly smart move, ensuring that despite the slower movement entailed by stealth, the game never dragged. The concept itself wasn't wildly unique, but in the season of sequels this was very much offset by the excitement of being presented with a brand new, untapped IP with some real promise. The city of Dunwall and the empire of which it is a part is fleshed out in great detail through in-game lore, but there's even more that's simply hinted at. Things sinister, like the continent of Pandysia, and things even more sinister, like the Outsider. Dishonored teased without spoiling, and there's a great deal more that I'd like to see of that universe. So here we are at Dishonored's second outing, in the smaller, more compact DLC form of Knife of Dunwall. DLC is, as the name suggests, usually intended as extra content for an existing game, playing by the same rules and formulae and not fundamentally novel in itself. So I won't waste time here in elaborating the basic mechanics. What I am very interested in, however, is whether a £7.99 content patch offers players something more than they could have experienced through simple replays. We know it offers Dishonored's stealth-based RPG-like action, but can it bring something new to the table? The opening cinematic certainly suggests so, as you gaze across the rooftops towards the soon-to-be late Empress of Dunwall and the man to be framed for her murder. It's a really weird feeling to look across at Corvo, the protagonist of the original game, and know what's about to happen. And that's why Knife of Dunwall is particularly exciting going in. It's not just a random wander through an admittedly enthralling world, it is a full-scale role reversal from the first game. The Lord Protector swapped for Assassin of Royalty. It's a shame that this sequence isn't interactive. Making the player do the deed they were previously sworn to prevent might have made for very moving gameplay, but at the very least it serves to excite for the coming levels. Then my excitement didn't so much as fade as stop dead. Not 2 seconds in, I encountered a gargantuan, ill-mannered, game-breaking bug. My first challenge was to blink to a ledge directly ahead of me. Certainly sounds simple enough, and indeed it would have been had the game decided to provide me with blink. Where blink should have been was a placeholder image, as I stood and stared at an impassable gap not 10 feet from the starting line. It honestly felt like the game was mocking me. Now I don't know if this bug will be reproduced on other systems yet, and I did eventually manage to fix it, so I'm not going to judge Knife of Dunwall on this count, but it was of such game-breaking scale that I thought it would be best to include my fix here, lest it rear its head again. As I learned after several hours, reloading, verifying the game cache, and completely reinstalling the 9GB of game files does absolutely nothing. The only way around this, as far as I can tell, is to delete the contents of your Dishonored folder in My Documents / My Games. Back up your saves to Steam Cloud and then just wipe the thing. When I eventually started playing, it was nice to simply be thrown into the thick of things. It assumes your prior knowledge of the game, gives you a pile of gear to choose from, and chucks you in. I'll say here, be very, very careful if you are out of practice. If you haven't played the game in a while and have no desire to go back and do so, it might be worth sticking the difficulty on novice and working up once you've got back into the swing of things. Knife of Dunwall's medium difficulty is significantly harder than Dishonored's medium difficulty. Dowd is a less stealthy character than Corvo, and enemies tend to hit like trucks. I suspect this might be an attempt by Arcane to force you into acting like the brutal assassin that your character is meant to be, because blood will be shed. Remaining undetected and with clean hands takes considerably more skill here. The special powers unlocked through the collection of runestones are also adapted to suit this new role. A blink now freezes time as you cast it and is a valuable aid in keeping agile during combat. There's also the ability to summon a fellow assassin to fight for you, further nudging you down this path of butchery. But what a fun path it is! Aside from the difficulty and new gadgets, combat remains essentially unchanged from Dishonored, and a new excuse to cause maximum havoc is not entirely unwelcome. Don't expect much to have changed aesthetically either. While 2 of the 3 locations are technically new, they are composed for the most part of familiar assets, and the final level is taken directly from Dishonored. I love the game's appearance dearly, but Knife of Dunwall was an opportunity to inject some real variance into the city that Arcane have sadly missed. In terms of the story, Knife offers an interesting contrast in the fact that the protagonist is no longer silent. Dowd is well voiced, and first-hand exchanges with characters and remarks upon surroundings all work towards the feeling that Arcane are building a world larger than the game itself, and that you are very much a part of it. The intriguing content suggested by the opening cinematic sadly fails to materialize, however. Missions follow the standard assassinate or incapacitate binary choice structure, but your choices never seem particularly relevant to the final mission. This is really due to the fact that there are only 3 missions in total, taking me about 4.5 hours to complete. That's not a bad length for DLC in itself, but the ending rushes up so fast that you've had no chance to develop any attachment to the characters upon which the finale depends. I haven't included any footage so as to avoid spoilers, although the loading screens are spoiler-laden throughout, but the final scene takes the form of an uninspiring boss fight, which is easier than anything else the game has to offer. Ultimately, the streets of Dunwall are yours to haunt again in new configurations and hiding new targets, and if you're a fan of Dishonored, Knife of Dunwall won't fail to entertain. But it's not entertainment you couldn't get from replaying the original. Despite promise of new tales from a radically different viewpoint, Knife of Dunwall fails to break with DLC tradition in simply offering more of the same.